There's a little flap going on with the NAACP locally, and actually it doesn't feel so little.
The Dan York State of Mind program is brought to you in part by Lookout Rhode Island and Takeo Comfort Solutions.
You know, anytime you throw a hunger strike into a conversation, it's like throwing a nuclear weapon into an argument, and because they're serious things, and it's going on as we speak, and I want to find out exactly what the argument is here. We had a little hint over it last week when the executive director of the NAACP was here, Jim Vincent. Will replace some of those words that he had to say about this thing that he more or less perceived as a minor problem. Our guest tonight will say it's not a minor problem. Nice to have you in. Thanks very much for joining my State of Mind on this Monday evening. Let's go to the rundown and just check on a couple of things. I don't know why we're picking this fight. Speaking of, you know, lobbing bombs. Headline here, Trump on Trump's Germans are very, very bad. Really, Mr. President? Is it necessary? I mean, the differences that we have right now in a couple of slight European policies require that. Of course, you know, Merkel's now pretty well grounded for re-election, and she more or less is suggesting that we're not reliable anymore. Quick hit from the network on this.
President Trump refused to endorse the Paris Accord on climate change over the weekend. German Chancellor Angela Merkel said Europe could no longer rely on the U.S., but says she is still committed to try to strengthen ties.
And I just don't understand why this is necessary. Let me know if you do. You know, call me on the radio on WPRO weekdays 3 to 6 as we occasionally talk about this stuff. In the meantime, communications challenges for the Trump administration. Just today, the director of communications has resigned. He's had kind of a backseat role there in the Oval Office. Here's the latest.
President Trump has a resignation of his communications director, Michael Dubke. The president is expected to shake up his communications team as the White House faces an onslaught of stories about the Russia investigations. He tweeted this morning, Russian officials must be laughing at the U.S. and how a lame excuse for why the Dems lost the election has taken over the fake news. Monday, Mr. Trump's first campaign manager, Corey Lewandowski, and deputy campaign manager David Bossie were at the White House for meetings. They could be part of a new rapid response team.
Just kind of recycle some of the old wash here for the Trump administration. Does he not understand that no new blood, any sophistication of mind at all when it comes to communications will join that team if he continues to tweet out of his own and act so erratically? I mean, he doesn't seem to understand it. I understand changing the paradigm, but you know what? No one's going to come along with you, Mr. President. Nobody, except some of the tired old retreads that we saw during the campaign. I don't think he's ever going to get that, and so they'll get retreaded in 3 to 6 months because they can't stand coming up with communication strategy that gets blown up by his fingers. It's pretty easy to understand. All right, let's come home. Just a quick hit on this. This headline was kind of interesting in the paper yesterday. Pawtucket's polling. The Journal went through some of the legislative rank and file to see who, what, where would support the Pawtuckets. Only one state rep from Pawtucket actually supported this Pawtucket Stadium project, which is just too bad. I remind you last week that Mayor Grebian held a press conference outside the State House to try to shake him up a little bit.
If we cannot put our political concerns aside, we risk losing this team in nearly $2 million in existing, and I say that, in existing revenue that currently generates out of that stadium. That's $60 million of lost revenue over the next 30 years if the team leaves Rhode Island.
All right, so that was the effort last week. Reportedly, Mayor Grebian is working on some publicity to try to get folks like the governor to take custody of this thing, or the General Assembly to take custody of this thing. Of course, she switched her whole disposition on this a number of times now. It's kind of about guarantees that she didn't know, finances that she didn't know. The state had to step up forward to protect the Pawtucket bonding.
What I wouldn't be able to support is if the city wanted the state to guarantee its portion of the investment. And, you know, that's something that would be problematic because, you know, my goal in this all along has been to protect the taxpayers of Rhode Island. And, you know, that's what I'm doing, protecting the taxpayers of Rhode Island.
And she's also echoing cliches at a mile a minute. That was all financial semantics. That was all just kind of, let's come up with something for not wanting to step up politically. for this particular thing. And of course, the General Assembly leadership was expecting her to do so. New in this conversation, by the way, the Valley Breeze is re-reporting that the Apex owners, you know, the site that they want to put the new stadium at, that the building there is not for sale for less than $20 million. There's no way that the city of Pawtucket is going to lay out more than the $4.3 million it's assessed for, maybe a couple of million more, I don't know. So that deal's not tucked in either. So we've got some problems getting this whole Paw Sox project done and completed. Don't hold your breath. And by the way, if I was a betting man, I'd take some good odds right now on the Paw Sox being somewhere else in New England or in Canada before this whole thing is over. We'll see what happens this week. In the meantime, we transition to what seems to be somewhat of a struggle going on at the NAACP. Here's a headline that caught our attention. Faction in Providence, NAACP, seeking resignation of the branch leader there. The protest is orchestrated as an act of public resistance toward the executive board members, specifically Jim Vincent, who's the president, not the executive director, sorry. President Vincent has deceived branch members, has constantly violated our branch national bylaws. There's a clear willingness to follow the rules and regulations set up by the branch, a lack of ethics, or I should say there's a clear unwillingness, they're right, to follow the rules, and you can read the rest. All right, Noel is here as one of two of my guests here to join us this evening and tell us what's happening. What is the executive summary of what the problem is at the NAACP?
So there are 4 major violations that we have. Obviously the first 3, when you hear them, you think, okay, these are internal issues that you could have resolved. The first one was that he was operating as the president of the branch when he hadn't paid his membership dues, and therefore he wasn't a member of the branch.
You know what, Kev, maybe this is premature, but go ahead and put up this list of things, and we'll take a couple of minutes, then we'll kind of break it all out if we can. All right, so what's this? You know, go down the list of these bullet points. What does this mean?
All right, so the declaration of third vice president. So the current third vice president, he was single-handedly picked by Jim Vincent. There was not a vote by the executive committee, which you have to do according to our branch's bylaws.
Okay, next. What else?
The second one was the 2016 election. So the last election we held back in December, it did not follow the bylaws and the rules set out by the national bylaws that we hold. So he had broken many of our rules and regulations when it came to elections. Imagine that, the irony, the NAACP breaking its own election bylaws.
And third?
The third one was his delay on paying his dues. So he was knowingly not paying his membership dues and still operating as the president of the branch. Therefore, he was knowingly not a member of the branch, but still the president of the branch.
All right.
And the final one is the big one.
Is?
In December, after we had our elections, we decided that as a general body, we said we want an audit. We have a right to an audit as a branch. It's in our bylaws. He said no. Then an executive committee member said that they wanted an audit back in this May. He said no again. Now, that is a red light in my book. If you don't want an independent audit to be done on your finances, something must be going on.
Is there a precedent for an audit to be called for and having been done by, a request by members of the organization?
The bylaws are clear that it can, if it's requested, then it must happen.
All right. Well, there's some pretty heavy leverage these guys are using, and we'll talk about that when we come back, and we'll get a reaction from Mr. Vincent as well. First, I just want to remind you that if you're looking to, step up your financial game in the palm of your hand, Card Valet would be the app that you want to look for. This thing does everything. Let me stick a note here. Check transfers, set limits on your spending, use Apple or Samsung Pay, send and receive cash through texts, which I still find to be phenomenal technology, don't you? It's all there. NavigantCU.org, member NCUA. Check out Navigant Credit Union. Right back. We'll dig into this controversy next. Now this woman is dynamo. Every time we've had Pilar, her last name is McLeod, correct?
Yes.
From the NAACP on, I have been energized by her vision and her love of youth. She coordinates a lot of the youth programs for the NAACP regionally, does she not?
Yes.
Not just here in Springfield, Springfield. How did that come up? I was looking at a story with Springfield. We're in Providence, Rhode Island, right? I used to work in Springfield for 15 years. Ray, did you ever work in Springfield?
No,
Maybe it was
I
something you said.
visited once.
Well, Ray is an old friend of the show as well. He does great work in the community. Ray Two Hawks. Why do people call you Two Hawks?
That's my name, sir.
There you go, brother. It's as simple as that. They've got to have it, but there's a reason behind
Well,
it.
traditionally, my name would be Nisu Wishawanag, which translated from Narragansett to English is Two Hawks. So they name it Two Hawks.
Got it? All right. Just in case you see it again. What else came up with it? You're working on some good stuff.
Yes.
In the community.
Yes.
Like?
Cultural development and cultural equity work.
Yes.
Which addresses all sorts of things from economic development opportunities to racism.
So you are working with Noel here on this particular argument. Are you a member of the NAACP?
No, I'm not, but I think that the reason that
What's he
I'm
doing here, for heaven's sake?
All right, so the reason why he's here is because we had a community meeting and Mr. Vincent was expected to show up and explain his side of the story. Ray had attended the meeting and he never showed up, Jim Vincent.
All right, a little haphazard start, just having some fun here. But Pilar, there's no laughing matter. Pilar McLeod, the woman you just saw there, who's been on the program and on the radio show in the past, and I think, you know, again, she's somebody that I think you'd find inspiring. She's on a hunger strike.
Yes.
Why?
Because when it comes to finances and the lack of transparency of one's finances, someone has to act. You're looking at it from the perspective of somebody stepping outside of our community. We're inside of our community.
You guys don't ever heard of this thing called lawyers?
Well, the issue is,
or public protest, or shining a light. I mean, hunger strikes.
Well,
the hunger strikes are viable weapons, but they need to match the egregious offense.
Well,
is this her own choice?
yes, it is.
Why is she doing this?
I would imagine.
And how deep are we? 8 days?
11.
11 days.
Well,
and 8 pounds.
Yep.
And she can't. By the way, she can't afford 8 pounds, as I recall. She's, you know, she's a small woman. Okay.
So then, to your original question, why am I here? Well, I'm here because I know Noel, I know Pilar, I know fantastic individuals who day in and day out do tremendous work for our community. So this isn't just a couple of people complaining that something's happening with an institution in Providence. These are well-known and acknowledged community activists and leaders who are going to such an extent. So when I hear that as a community member, I have to pay attention because I know Noel, I know Pilar, they weren't just haphazard. I mean, to your point, a hunger strike is something. So what would push someone to the point where they'd actually go on a hunger strike? I, as a concerned community member, need to be aware of that and need to hear that. And what bothers me, to Noel's point, is when a request is put out there to come and answer questions from the community, and A, they don't show up, but then B, we're also told that we have to speak to someone in Connecticut. I'm not liking that situation at all.
Yeah, but Noel, you can stand on your head and scream that there's an improprieties in the NAACP, and I think people will come running in terms of attention to the matter. But when you throw a hunger strike into the mix, it feels like you're coming to, you know, a fist fight with a Tomahawk missile.
Well, look at it this way: if it wasn't for that hunger strike, would we even be here? And that's the reality.
I
that
get
there are
it. Well, see, here's the catch-22. So you've been sending us some information for a week. I asked Jim Vincent about this stuff, and he's, you know, dismissing it, understandably. Yeah. So you do the hunger strike thing, and I go, Lexi and I realized, oh my gosh, we know this woman. She's a really good egg. What in the hell? What is she doing this for?
That's the point.
Yeah, but you know what? You can move all your chips in once or twice, but if you do that and this whole thing it seems to be unnecessary, you won't get a call from me or anybody else again. I can promise you that.
But I do have to say this: the veil has been unveiled. He still hasn't called her in the past 11 days. He hasn't approached any of us.
Called her to say what? Have a sandwich?
Call her to sit down and talk about the situation. He hasn't called any meetings. He hasn't said anything. The only statement he's made is the one he released to go local. The reality is, if you were a legitimate leader, you would have sat down with the community.
That's not the only statement he made. I asked him about it because it was dangling. He was here the other day by coincidence. He just happened to be scheduled. Well, what's this run? A minute and a half or so? Yeah. Well, let's run this. When I asked Jim about what was going on with this controversy. Strike still going on?
I have no idea.
You know, it's tough. You got to pay attention to that because sometimes I mean, hunger strikes are very significant weapons. They're very, very provocative, and you better know what the hell you're doing before you engage in one.
No, I understand that it's still going on, but I think this situation is you have a couple of disgruntled people that decided to do things, take the situation into their own hands, rather than going into the internal dispute process that the NAACP prescribes, leading up to the regional office in Boston. They decided to go outside of that to try to embarrass me, which in turn embarrasses the NAACP.
So give me the 30-second bullet point when people say, hey, Jim, what's the problem with the organization? What is it?
There's no problem with the organization. There's some disgruntled people that wanted to air this stuff publicly as opposed to doing it through the process.
What's their gripe? Other than they're saying, listen, the rules aren't good, you don't follow all the rules. It seems like it's more procedural stuff than it is something substantial.
None of that stuff, you're right, and none of that stuff
and
is
true.
true.
And they say you didn't pay your dues. Did you pay your dues?
My dues are paid.
Okay, well,
and none of that stuff that they claim is true.
You got a receipt?
I do. But I think they just do stuff against the wall and see what's stuck. None of that stuff is true. It's all baseless. And, you know, but you get attention that way, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it's hard to defend yourself against those kind of things.
Hey, you see it all the time.
Yeah, but here's the thing. When that came up, it was kind of like a byproduct of another conversation. I hadn't dug into to what it is that you're asserting here, but even after I dig in, I don't see where the hunger strike matches what you claim to be the big problem. Sure. Right.
So if you recall, a few years ago, a similar situation occurred with me and a certain individual at the Urban League of Rhode Island. And I went out there with my drum in the cold, and I was out there banging the drum in the cold.
I do remember that.
I literally didn't know what else to do. So when I hear from individuals like Noel and Pilar that we're going to this extent and we've been trying for this so long and we just don't know what to do anymore to bring attention, that's why I'm here. I don't have an issue personally with Jim. I know Jim. I see Jim all the time. But when something like this spills out and it becomes a community issue, you can argue protocols, NAACP, all you'd like, but now it's a community issue because the community is aware of it. And when I see individuals who I know are not crazy people, they're not irrational people, they're passionate about their communities, they work day in and day out, when I look at the types of individuals who are making these allegations, to me, I'm saying, okay, I don't think that these people are just crazy. There has to be something that has them going to this extreme.
I don't misunderstand me.
Sure.
I don't think these people are crazy.
Sure.
You're a bright young guy with a big future and a serious guy, and Pilar is Pilar. She's the genuine article.
Yeah.
So I don't think you people are crazy. Sometimes you use the wrong tactics. When we come back, let's make sure we understand exactly what's at stake. Okay, we'll be right back. All right, so let me see if we understand what's at stake here. If you just tuned in, you can always catch the rest of the show either at midnight, if you are seeing it at 7:30, or on foxprovidence.com. Noel, you are a paying dues member of the NAACP.
Yes, I am.
Right, you're just a community guy.
Just a
not
community
that it's
guy.
minimizing
Yep.
thing. That's kind of how many working members do we have at the local NAACP right now?
So on the rolls we have, I believe, 300 to 400. Only about 20 show up, and that's the big issue. So Jim continued to mention how there's an internal process. You need about 20 members to impeach someone. We barely had 10, and the reason why is because no one shows up to the meetings. So we see this going on, and we're speaking out, and we're literally, like Ray said, banging our drums, trying to make ourselves heard, and no one was listening.
Is the attendance at the NAACP meetings indicative of less traction in the community? Is the organization not doing the work it's supposed to?
Yes. It speaks exactly that. No one wants to go because everyone knows we don't do anything. And that is our frustration. That's one of our many frustrations. But the biggest one is
and they won't do anything, like things that you think the organization should be embarking upon are what?
It has to be more interactive with the community. It has to be willing to take a stance on issues. Ray can speak on that as a community member.
Sure. In my experience, especially when I was being very, very vocal about things, I always found the NAACP willing to come and speak about an issue. But I didn't too much see the follow-through after or the things that were going to make the change happen. I can give you an example. There was a spate of police shootings that were going on in Mount Hope. We had done a press conference a few months before that, and here we were back again having another press conference. And the ultimate end-all, be-all of the second press conference, we were going to wait again to see what happened. So I and another gentleman, Boo Hackney, told Jim, no, that's not good enough. We can't just have another press conference and wait and see what happens.
So listen, my instinct tells me you think they're too establishment.
I think they're too passive.
Too passive.
I think for what we need nowadays and the change that we're looking for, the issues that police violence, violence within our communities,
education reform, dealing with the issues of poverty and the effects of poverty.
Well, the reason he was here last week was to talk about some of the data about African Americans.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
Why are we talking about that?
So then here's my, and this is my issue. This is my question to all leadership that has been around for a while now, because I consider, I mean, I'm kind of an OG now, I guess. I'm getting a little bit older, but individuals like Noel, my question is, if we're facing the same issues today that we were facing in the 60s, then how are we still utilizing and following the same?
Is that a national phenomenon or a local
I think it's
phenomenon?
nationally, but I'm speaking specifically here in Rhode Island.
Okay, now, look, it's great dialogue.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like a spectator to it. Mm-hmm. You don't have to be black to be in the NAACP,
no, of course not.
But these are usually minority-driven issues.
Yes.
If you feel like the organization has become static, it seems to me that it's incumbent upon you to, look, if there's only 10 or 20 people come to a meeting, I mean, that's a coup that a long time ago you could have done this with your eyes closed. Mm-hmm. I mean, so come on now. I mean,
there are individuals. The individuals that are showing up are much older individuals who have no more fight left in them.
You got to recruit some young blood.
We're trying. And he doesn't want them to go.
I'm not a member of then.
Well, a hunger strike ain't recruiting young blood. All it's doing is yelling fire and a fear.
But then, I'm not a member of. Ray Watson, who loves his community to death, has chosen to not be a member of the NAACP.
And what does that say?
Why is that? Kobe Dennis isn't a member. Boo Hackney's not a member.
All good men.
Why? So this is the question.
So, my question back to you is,
I don't want to just go to another meeting.
Thank you. And that's all we do.
I'm meeting it all out.
The young people literally operate independently from the adult branch because the adult branch refuses to act and speak up.
And Pilar works with the youth.
Yes, and she makes sure that we are active within our community.
Mm-hmm. Look, at the end of the day, I think this dialogue is healthy. Mm-hmm. I think the hunger strike is the weapon, and I'm trying to figure out what the smoking gun is here. When you talk audits, do you smell something financially wrong with this organization?
I can't accuse anybody of anything because then I could get sued. But I do have to admit that if you deny an audit, it raises eyebrows, and it speaks on your lack of transparency when it comes to your finances. Money that the community gave to them.
What specifically will end Pilar's hunger strike?
Him stepping down. It's been 3 years of this. He has to go. We need new leadership.
She won't quit it until he quits?
She's willing to take this all the way to the hospital. And if the community allows it to get to that point, and if they still don't speak up, then it's at that point you're really just saying, okay, we're willing to allow leaders who operate in that manner to exist and lead our community.
I think he at least has to have a community meeting and show up to it, because I'm not an NAACP member. I know Jim, but I know Noel and Pilar, so I'm not going to say either side is more valuable than the other. I'm going to say, let's have a community meeting and address this situation.
And we invited him, and he didn't go.
Let's give it tomorrow. Okay, tomorrow you come on the radio? Hopefully Jim will watch this tonight.
What time
we'll
tomorrow?
work on the logistics after the show, but in theory, you want more attention for this. I want more community dialogue on this. She's a good egg. There's something wrong here. All right, thanks, guys. We'll tell you what's up on the TV tomorrow. Next, stay with us. All right, coming up tomorrow night, we're going to take a look at some of the Rhode Island healthcare issues that are percolating in the legislature. And I'm pretty sure by tomorrow at probably closer to 5 o'clock during the 3 to 6 radio show, we'll follow up with our fine guest and see if NAACP President Jim Vincent will have a relook at this hunger strike going on, kind of draw him out a little bit. All right? Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
I'm not.